My name is Graham Marsden of the Guild of Historic Interpreters, and we work hand in glove with the Friends of Minuteman. We put on the reenactments and at the park, mostly at Hartwell Tavern. And we're happy to say that over the years, visitation to the park and to the Hartwell Tavern has vastly increased because of these regular enrichment programs that are put on by ourselves and by affiliated groups. So much so that if you notice, the parking lot has been more than doubled in recent years to cater to the more people that are coming for a serious interpretation at the Hartwell Tavern. We tend to get a different group of people going to the North Bridge. You'll find a busload of people will come, and 50 people will take a picture, and 50 people will get back on the bus. There is, of course, opportunity for interpretation, but we find, yes, indeed, that smile and arigato are the words you hear. But we find, as reenactors, that the Hartwell Tavern is a very satisfying place. And we have regular programs, some of which you will see this evening. And just to throw you, we are starting with the derbies. So Jim Hollister and Emily Murphy will be on next. Now you have to imagine that you are in the parlour of the very rich merchant Elias Haskett Derby in their splendid mansion overlooking Salem Harbor.
I look like a servant. Where is he? The messenger said they would be back hours ago. I'm terribly concerned. 12 years of marriage, and this is the first time I've actually had to be concerned about him. My sisters-in-law, well, they were sending their husbands off to sea to God knows what fate for the first 5 or 6 years of their marriage, but Haskett never left. He worked in his father's counting house. So I've never had that concern. My brother used to go off to sea for months at a time, but somehow it's different when it's your husband. The most horrible thoughts run through your head. What am I going to do if something's happened to him? I have 6 children. Well, maybe 7. I haven't told him yet. But I know Father Derby will take care of us. But still, I've seen how some of the other widows in town have to scrimp and save and barely make it through and beg to get their children into school. I cannot think of it. I cannot think of it. The least I can do is get this gown remade for Elizabeth. She desperately wants a new gown. Of course, there's nothing to be had. And I have a feeling that that good English wool and India chintz and Irish linen are going to be of very short supply in the next few years, so I must make do and mend what I can. I'm so concerned. They said they would be back hours ago. Where have you been? I've been... Are you all right?
Yes, I am fine. Were you worried?
Oh, no, not at all. I know you would be perfectly safe.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was.
Are you hurt?
No.
Eddie, are you hurt? Are you all right?
I am fine. I am fine. I'm just very, very tired.
What's happening?
We are at war. The regulars were attacked by our militia. They were driven back to Boston. There's been losses on both sides. thousands of militiamen are marching into the area. Boston is fully surrounded. Medford, Cambridge, and Roxbury, they're settling in for a siege.
Were any from Salem hurt?
No, Danvers has lost several, though.
Who? Do you know?
I haven't learned their names yet.
We'll find out at meeting on Sunday.
Sure we will.
Oh, my dear, my dear. All this accoutrement and
Yes.
everything, and this hasn't been fired.
How good of you to notice.
What happened?
Colonel Pickering, that villain, that rogue.
Haskett! Shh. You know, young Haskett and Elizabeth are upstairs. And every time you say something like that, they repeat it in meeting.
Oh dear. We can't have
I
that.
know it's gotten you in trouble before. Now, calm down, sit down,
Thank you. Oh.
have some wine.
Ah,
Your father sent it over.
excellent.
Apparently he thought I needed some consoling. Half a cask. Well, that's good. Now, tell me what happened.
Well, as you know, yesterday morning, we received word that the regulars had marched to Lexington and killed some of our militia. And so, as I understand the story, Colonel Pickering was in his office, and it was about 8:30 when a Captain Eaps, Danvers, came running in, delivering this news, and asking permission to muster his company and march at once. So Colonel Pickering did grant his permission for Captain Eaps and all the Danvers men to march immediately. So Colonel Pickering then went to town, and instead of calling out the militia, he called out the selectmen. And do you know what they did?
I would imagine they had a meeting.
They held a meeting, which of course took some time.
It usually does.
So after considerable deliberation, it was then determined that the Salem men should march, though we didn't really expect, given the distance between Salem and Lexington, we didn't really expect to render any real service, but we should go as a show of support for our countrymen. And so we marched at a leisurely pace. We got as far as Bell Tavern in Danvers, where we decided it would then be prudent to stop and wait for more news before continuing on and refresh ourselves whilst we were waiting. No more news forthcoming, we decided to resume our march, and this time we got as far as Lynn and the Newell Tavern.
How is this Newell?
She's, well, I didn't spend much time talking with her.
Excellent.
But while we were there, waiting for more news and refreshing ourselves, we did receive news that the regulars had indeed marched through Lexington, had killed some of our militia there, and they continued on to Concord.
Did they get any of the stores?
No, fortunately, from what I understand, they were able to disperse most of those before the regulars arrived. And how do you know about that?
I keep telling you to keep your voice down when you and your brothers and the rest of the committee are having a meeting in our parlor. I'm sure the children could tell anyone who asked how many cartridges there are, where they have been distributed to, and where the various other stores are. You gentlemen give us ladies very little credit in terms of what we can do. We can do more than not buy tea.
Really?
I heard that Colonel Mason locked his poor wife in an upstairs chamber so that she and her daughters could make cartridges for cannon, 1,000 of them. And Mrs. Mason in such poor health, and everybody knows it. Had you only asked the patriotic ladies in town, they could have had twice as many cartridges in half the time.
Yes, I'm sure they could.
But go on.
Thank you, thank you. So we resumed our march, and we got as far as Winter Hill, and we actually saw the regulars. There was over 1,000 of them, at least, and they were in fact under fire. They were being attacked. Thousands of our militia were driving them, and we were there, overlooking their position, almost within range, as they were crossing over Charlestown Neck, and we were told to load our muskets. And just as we were about to do that, a messenger from General Heath came riding up in great haste and told us to draw off and not to engage. In fact, He was calling upon all the militia at that point to break off the attack, for the regulars streaming across Charlestown Neck were then fortifying themselves on Bunker Hill, and it was becoming far too dangerous. So we marched all that way to stand there on Winter Hill, utterly useless. Oh, the embarrassment, the shame of it. Had we been there just a few minutes earlier, we could have cut them off at the neck. Not one dot of them would have gotten past us. Oh, the delays. So, shortly thereafter, we began to march back towards Salem. We spent the night at a tavern, and I am, as you see me now, utterly exhausted. Oh, foot soldiering is not for me.
I doubt you've walked that far in many years, my dear.
Oh, and with this war on, I'm sure they will need more than soldiers to carry it forward. I should speak with Richard in the morning. I'm sure they'll be commissioning privateers. Perhaps I could finance a venture tomorrow. In the morning.
In the morning, my love. Had a very, very long day. Let's go, time to go to bed. Come on, let's go.